Permission granted.
Permission granted. Oh, background. Welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Real Men. I'm your host, Josh McGlawn. My co-host, Big Steady, in the background there with all the dancing lights going on.
Hey, don't cause no extra attention now.
We've got a meeting here of a panel of good men. Today we're going to talk about leading your household in the pandemic, leading your household during the pandemic. We all know what times we're in right now, so we know what all is going on, a lot of negative stuff, so we always like to start out with something good. How you doing? How was your day? How was your week? Anything interesting happened to you this week? I'll start with you, Big Steady. What interesting, besides waking up? We all know that.
Hey, look, I was really trying. I mean, I can't really think of anything just spectacular, you know. I have survived.
Your background, that's spectacular. I don't know.
Yeah, that is that. Now that is, but
I'm not used to that. I'm not used to that.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. But my week so far has been good, and I made it another day without COVID. So
okay,
man, I think that's about best as I got right there right now.
We'll make that. We'll ride that for a little while. See if that's your same response next week.
It's gonna still be it. It's still gonna be it.
Well, I mean, I know that's the same response. I mean, give me something else to work.
You know? I got you.
My first guest of the day is David Mitchell, high school classmate, buddy from back in the day. David, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, your family, and anything interesting or good happened to you this week. We'll say bad for later. Let's leave the good for right now.
Right, sure. So I work in IT for a school district around here. So you know, with the pandemic, that's impacted us pretty well. Yeah, go Chargers. Yeah, I work for the school we both graduated from. I have 2 kids, one on the way, all girls.
Congratulations and bless your heart at the same time.
Yeah.
You need prayer.
Well, I'm not ready for when they get older. Something interesting happened this week. Well, I got to update my main computer at the house with a little more equipment. So that was kind of neat. Yeah, it's got a little more muscle. That was something fun for me with all the Black Friday deals. So that was
it's better than what I have that I just crashed earlier when we tried to go earlier. So
hopefully it rocks steady, you know.
All right, my next guest, the original real man, brought me into the world. My father, Taylor McGlawn. Please, sir, no introduction needed. Just tell us a little bit about yourself. Everybody doesn't know who you are. Everybody that's outside of Oxford and Lafayette County, they don't know who you are.
Okay. Well, I'm a Oxford native. Spent most of my life in Oxford. Currently working with my younger son in our excavation business. And lots of my friends and relatives my age have retired, and they ask me why I haven't retired. So I said the reason I hadn't retired, everybody I know retired is either overworked or dead. So I don't, right now, I'm not interested in either of the two. So we are about business in Oxford. We have been very, very busy throughout this pandemic, and we are most thankful for that. A lot of businesses are struggling right now, and ours is pretty much a no contact business, which works really good for us because we have been doing a lot to service people that need businesses that we provide to them. And one of the most, I guess, exciting things to me this week is we bidded 3 jobs in one day, and we won the bid on all 3 jobs in the same day. And this time of year, with excavation business working outside, some people are struggling, and some people a little bit frightened about what's going to happen with the change coming up with the weather and that kind of thing. So that's kind of where I am, headed toward midweek.
That's always good. Business picking up and pretty much hasn't slowed down since we started this whole pandemic, and we've been thankful for that. Prayers go out to people that are dealing with lost business and that didn't make it. Our businesses that shut down, so we're praying for those people out there that are dealing with that. Interesting thing that happened to me this week. Last week we talked about some of the Black Lives Matter stuff and talked about what matters on the inside and not the outside. And some protest that I was speaking at, I asked the people, can they tell what I look like from the outside? You know, am I, Hispanic or mixed or whatever? You can't tell. Everybody said, no, we can't tell. So a guy at the job the other day, one of the jobs we were working on, one of the concrete guys, he said, is you Mexican? Mexican? I said, no, man. I pointed to my dad. I said, that's my dad. My dad's black. My mom's white or whatever. And he laughed. He said, something I won't repeat, but he said, something, you kidding? Blankety blank, you kidding? I was like, well, that's me. I thought that was funny. I don't know. I think because David's is on mute, that I didn't get as much laughter as I expected.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah. I was on mute because there's a good bit of background noise. I had to answer the door real quick.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's okay. I had to take care of something myself on mute a second ago as well. All right. I think that can bring us into the beginning of our questions. What I'll do is read some of the questions that we came up with here and get some responses from our panel. I'll hold my responses to the end, and my co-host will bring some responses as needed. I'll start with you, David. Of course, you told us a little bit about yourself. Since this is about leading your household, which is by definition people that live in your house. First, tell us who lives in your house with you, and tell us about your family outside the house as well, so we can get a little perspective of how your household in general is affected.
So so there's the 4 of us here in the house and the one on the way. My wife and the 2 girls, they're little, so they don't go to school yet. They're both under 5. So my wife and I both work, and my wife works at the hospital. She's a nurse, so she sees lots of COVID patients. Not all the time, but she works in L&D, so she doesn't have a choice. Mamas with COVID are gonna give birth no matter what. And then I work in the school district, so we've done our best to mitigate contact with other people in the schools and that. But if a computer is broken, or if a projector is broken, or a TV, I still got to go slang a new up on the wall, or grab the computer and fix it, or fix whatever settings, and these kids will slobber on them or whatever. So we're doing the best we can with that. At home, that translates to at home. When the lockdown stuff first started, we didn't know how deadly or not this was or anything. So we were when we were coming home from work, both of us, because of where we were, we both would strip down and throw in the garage and throw, come running in our in nothing but our skivvies and throw our clothes in the wash and straight to the shower. And when we did our shopping, we would get our shopping and we would leave it in another room, in the laundry room, for a few hours, because that was what was recommended, because it could survive on surfaces for so long. And we didn't want our kids to get sick, and we didn't want to get sick. And we both had experience with decon and stuff, because I met my wife at the hospital when I worked there. So yeah, we were blessed that we kind of knew a little bit about what we were doing, but it's tough.
Yeah.
And we have family here in town, and my mother is older, and she comes and watches our kids when we both are working. So we wanted to limit the possibility of my mother getting sick too. So that's why we, I chase my mom. I'd say, I'd text her and say, "Hey, take the girls out back, because I'm about to run through the living room now in my underwear. Y'all go outside for a minute."
Gotcha.
So,
yeah, that's definitely that puts me in the mind of my mom when she gets home from the store. My dad can elaborate on it a little bit on how things work at their house. But she does the same thing. She'll take the groceries, but she'll set them on the floor, take all the bags out and dispose of them, and disinfect every single piece of, every item that came from the store. So, it's so many different recommendations of what to do and what not to do if you go out and come back in and all that. And that's difficult for y'all coming from school district where you're in contact with, potentially a lot of people every day. And, her having potential direct contact with people that are known, and I commend y'all on doing that, because that's not easy. My wife works in the medical field as well, but thankfully she doesn't, come in direct contact with people like that at orthopedics. But she has, had contact with some of those people that she had to check out and stuff at the receptionist. And, we've had to do some of the same stuff, Dad, could you kind of tell us a bit about who lives in your house and, how you guys format the logistics of of navigating around this pandemic on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, we're official empty nesters and have been for for a few years. However, being empty nesters with Josh working with us, and the whole issue of what to do with his youngest son in the course of the day has changed our household quite a bit. But primarily, what we did was kind of along what David, his family did with the groceries and that kind of thing coming in. First of all, we decided immediately that we were going to minimize the contact that we had with people coming into our home. We don't have a lot of visitors, but we had decided that the guys that work for us, we need to make sure, because we don't have a lot of guys that work with us. We want to make sure that their households were protected, and we were as well. So what I've done is our equipment and everything that all of us use, we make sure that that's been sterilized and disinfected and whatever else that we need to do, so that everybody that we associate with is protected in that light. And just as you were saying, we were doing some reading in CDC guidelines and recommendations and all that kind of stuff. So we immediately started bringing the groceries in immediately, taking them from bags, immediately taking those bags and taking them outside of the house. And uh, Sheila does, and will continue to disinfect absolutely everything. I mean, when I say everything, everything. I mean, she keeps her wipes handy, and everything that comes in the house is disinfected before it's put away. So that has helped. And the fact that we have limited the number of people that come into our home, uh, that has been we think, one of the key ways. And in addition to that, we discontinued some of our practices of going out. We don't, we're not party animals, so we don't go out and hang out and, this kind of thing. But um, unfortunately, we had to cut back on eating out, and we were eating out periodically, but uh, we felt that both of us are over 60, and of course that, according to everything that we've seen, puts us at a higher risk. So we were ultra careful with that, and made sure that, you know anything that we do now is carry out, and we have not eaten out since the pandemic started. So with all of those steps that we've done, and of course with JT, our grandson who does come into the house, we've made sure that while he's there during the course of the day, that he's protected, and we know that his parents are doing their share to protect him in their home, and he has not been out of the house to gatherings and places, so that has helped keep him safe. So that's kind of what we've done, and in our work, I tend to go out on occasion to meet with customers, and I make sure that my 6 feet is at least 8 feet plus, and I've got masks in every vehicle that we own. Plus, we have extras, so if any the guys who are working with us don't have one, that there's an extra mask in our vehicles. So we've tried to do our part to make sure that we stay as insulated as we can, so that anybody that we do happen to come in contact with, they're insulated as best as we can.
That sounds pretty consistent with what everybody's doing. I mean, take care of yourself, take care of the people in the house, make sure, especially for the kids, they're not getting exposed. And by them not getting exposed, you minimize your exposure, etc. Big Steady.
Yes, sir.
What about yourself, sir? How are you protecting yourself and your little one, even though he's not there with you 24/7? You still have to keep him in mind.
Right. What I do is similar to what y'all do. When I come home from work, like when it was summertime, I would wear shorts under my work pants and take them off at the door, and then take my shirt off at the door inside the screen, and then drop them, and then go straight to the shower, take a Clorox shower, and then when I come out, where I open the door with the key, I Clorox the knob and the light switch that I hit to cut on, and then with groceries, I just wipe. As soon as I bring it in, I wipe everything down. I disinfect it all, and wash my hands. Teach my son how to wash his hands, and that's all I was doing. And just do all my immune support. That's about it. And don't stay around and stay away from people. That's the key.
Right. I put up something the other day on Facebook, a meme that I made with Drake, the rapper, doing on the top. it's got him doing like this, like showing his face away, and on the bottom he's like yeah, the top is how you treat your when you go out in public and you go out to work. You're like, stay away from me when you're around your friends and your family and people you know. You're like, hey, how you doing? You know, we good? We good. Like you said last week, we covered.
Yeah, got to be.
We covered. Y'all pretty much knocked out my first and second question. I appreciate that. The next question I'll introduce is starting with you again, David. Is he there? Or is he bent over?
He is gone for a moment. He is back.
I'm here. I had to. Sorry, I'm wrangling children.
Leading his household.
I was gonna say you leading your household, bro. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm having to wrangle these kids. It's all good though. They're fun.
A bit braver than I am. I talked about it and I thought about it beforehand. I was like, man, I
tried to talk him into it.
He didn't want to do it. I just had the vision of JT coming in. What are you doing? But back to the top again. You guys knocked out my first two questions, so I'm gonna go to the next one.
She wanted the iPad.
Oh yeah.
We had enough iPad time today.
There you go. You gotta put a stop to it at some point. They'll go on forever if you don't.
Oh yeah.
Next question we've got. Has anyone you live with or anyone you're close to, family, friends, co-workers, etc., tested positive or been affected by the virus? Starting with you, David.
So that actually became very relevant for me today. So over Thanksgiving, one of my coworkers in my department, he tested positive, but he's been since it was Thanksgiving, he's been isolated. And then a different department, I don't want to put anybody on blast or anything, so I'm not going to say where they work or anything. But in a different department in the district, someone was positive, and I had direct contact with them. I was wearing my mask. I always wear my mask unless I'm in my car by myself, and I'm always doing the hand sanitizer stuff. Mm-hmm. And this person did not have their mask on in their at their desk, and I wasn't directly helping them, but I had to go pretty close to them because of the proximity of the workspace. So this person just turned up positive today, and I was walking past them today, and they weren't wearing their mask. So my boss asked me, hey, did you ever get in contact with this person? Yes, I did. Okay, well, you got to go home. So I went straight home.
Real life.
And so now I'm going to be working from home until Monday. And then I'm going to go get a test on Monday, and then I can tell them if it's positive or negative. It's probably negative. I'm probably going to be fine. I wasn't in the same room with her for long, but
we're gonna claim that.
Yeah,
we'll claim that. I had a similar experience, not at work, but in a gathering, and it's just a couple of people, definitely less than 10, and so and so said, hey, I tested positive. The person I was with tested positive, and I'm like immediately, thinking about me, and my parents were there too. I don't want to steal my dad's thunder, but that happened to us as well. Thankfully, I tested negative. They didn't have any direct contact with them, but I did, and I felt. And it was crazy because I felt sick. I felt really tired. I didn't have a fever, didn't have, this extra stuff going on, but I felt I was like, man, something didn't feel right. I was just tired, but it turned out to be an ear infection. So I'm thankful for that. And sometimes the Lord keeps us from stuff that we expose ourselves to. But I appreciate that. And I'll translate that question to you, sir, Mr. McGlawn. If has anyone you live with, anyone that you work with, close to, etc., tested positive?
Well, since there's only a couple of us, the answer is no and no. And the people who work with us, no and no and no and no, no. So, but with the exposure, we've been very, very, very careful and kept ourselves isolated a lot. So that's been one of the keys for us. But I have a a family member whom I have not had any contact with at all has tested positive and is doing much better right now and should be out of the woods here shortly. But that's gets to be a little bit scary because we did have some exposure some time back with someone who did test positive, and it brings about a series of deep thinking, and you know you start to try to retrace your steps and say, hey, look, did I come in proximity to this person? When was it when I did? Or that kind of thing. How close was I? So on and so forth. So what we wound up doing though, I went and pulled the CDC guidelines uh, to ask, so I could get some things answered for me and for my wife and for anybody else that would need to know. And the interesting thing I found, uh, question was, when should you get tested? And they never really answered it. So, they gave a lot of scenarios and says if this and if that and if whatever else and so on and so forth, if you feel sick or if this, but they never really nailed down anywhere I read uh, under these specific circumstances, you need to rush out and get tested. So, uh, based on what we read, we didn't meet the criteria, and what I did see was that you would have had direct contact with someone for 15 minutes or longer. Uh, and of course, that kind of rang a bell. And I said, well, that pretty much excludes, uh, anything that I have even been close to doing. So it's it's a time I think that we really need to stress to everyone. You really need to pay attention uh, to everybody you come in contact with. And what occurred with Dave was just a passing thing. But he's got kids at home and wife and all of that. So this mask thing and hand washing, we really need to get that. And what I also saw in 2020 a few weeks ago was some of the after effects that 30-year-old, 40-year-old, that age group is having, which is really worse than what they had when they were going through the initial process. So, I hope those people who might be seeing this, if you're in that 30, 40-year-old age group, we're not out of the woods yet by a long shot. And you just can't drop your guard, even with family members. You just have to be careful. I just read something before we came on here where they're trying to get health officials in the state of Mississippi are trying to get the governor to do a statewide mask requirement. He is refusing to do it. I'm not going to turn this into a political platform, but I just have to say is that, we need everybody in this state. Our rates are going through the roof. And one of the things that the health officials said is that what's happening is people are moving from one county to the next to work, to visit, And what he wants to do is to put the mandate by county, those counties whose rates are spiking. I think we need to do the whole state, buckle this thing down before it gets any worse.
Yeah, I understand. And I, like I said on my last show, I don't envy them at all, because it doesn't matter what decision you make on that. I mean, it's gonna be people over here mad and people over there, because you see people all the time that go to places and don't wear a mask at all. I was like, don't you see the sign that says mask? I mean, it's my right and all that, and I understand your rights, but is your rights more important than other people's health or your health? Or that's a tough one.
I completely agree. Like, wearing a mask ain't hard. Just wear the mask.
It's not. I mean, going in the gas station
It's not hard.
seconds put the freaking
Could
mask
save your life.
Yeah.
I mean,
For someone else's.
That's it. That's the other part.
It's not about you wearing the mask. It's about who's around you.
That's the problem. They don't care about nobody else.
That's it.
They care about their rights.
About
They care about their rights more than they care about the people around them. And President-elect Biden said he's going to ask America to wear a mask for 100 days. Once he
needs to tell them.
And that's what the difference is. A lot of people don't want to be told what to do. They don't want to be told you have to wear a mask or you have to do this and that. You have to distance. You have to not go, have parties and stuff. So if he says, maybe let me ask you guys to wear a mask for 100 days, psychological, I guess. So I don't know what the difference is going to be, but the difference, what he's doing is putting a blanket over the whole country instead of saying, oh, each state can do what they want to do. What it should have been done from the beginning. Let's nip this thing in the bud, knock it out so it doesn't belabor the thing. I mean, and that brings me to my next question. Back to the top with David, what has changed the most in your life during the pandemic? And what do you think when this thing is all over, what's the difference going to be? What's the difference in your life going to be? What's the difference now? And what's the difference going to be after it's over?
Well, I think one big thing is specifically my field of work is, I don't think, going to be the same ever again. Not necessarily IT, but just education in general.
Right.
Because they've been sending whole grades of kids home. When the pandemic started, it was like right at spring break, and all the schools went immediately to virtual learning. And what that meant for us in the IT department, it was like 5 guys. We had to get every single computer in the district that we could find. It was all hands on deck, and we had to snatch up every laptop we could find and get them wiped and set up in a week and a half. Or it was 3 days basically. We got all these laptops together, and then we lined them all up on cafeteria tables. And we just was going through each one, just going down the line.
Yeah, I was one of them. We had the MacBook at the house.
Yeah. And it was wild, man. But the kids learning from home, that aspect of it, that's gonna stick around. That's gonna be an option now. Like, even if in a year or 2 or 5, if coronavirus is a done thing and we're not worrying about it, it's gone the way of polio, your kid's still going to have the option to do virtual learning. Yeah. I don't think that's ever going to go away.
It's huge.
And it's tougher on the kids too. It's a lot tougher to do the virtual learning because you have to be disciplined.
That's true.
You have to have somebody looking over your shoulder.
Yeah. That's my oldest we chose for her to go to school. She has a specific learning disability, prescribed anyway. She's doing great in school, but for her to miss out on that extra help that she wouldn't be getting. Plus, I'm working, my mom works our business. She's our business manager, and she's helping my youngest son, which is virtual right now, who is just 4 in pre-K, basically before pre-K. And I couldn't imagine having to deal with, plus her, much less some of these parents that have kids that they're working probably 3 jobs, a single parent, and they got maybe 2 or 3, even 1 kid having to do virtual learning. I know my daughter's best friend in the Panola school district, and she's dealing with. I mean, she's a good student, but she's got a failing grade in 1 class because it's virtual. And some of these kids are falling through the crack, unfortunately, and because they don't have the extra help, and it's tough.
It's a ton of them. It's a ton of kids falling through the cracks.
Yeah, and they're gonna have to school districts as a whole are gonna have to make concessions or something. And a lot of these schools that like the Delta in Mississippi, they don't have the same resources like Oxford School District.
No, they don't. Oxford is blessed.
I wouldn't call
Oxford
it
is ridiculously blessed.
I wouldn't call it unlimited funds, but they've got a lot to work with.
Especially for Mississippi. I mean, like, not even for Mississippi, like just for the nation, Oxford has some of the highest standards in terms of the virtual learning, the technology in the classroom. We are like the new school they opened. It's like space age, man.
Yeah, I heard it was state of the art. So.
That was fun this summer, hanging all those crazy touchscreen.
Wow.
Giant. Yeah.
Is that over at Central?
Yeah, it's like Star Trek. Man.
It's crazy. That's where the same spot is where my dad went to high school. Just think about the difference between then and now. It's like a futuristic movie. It's like
that's a big difference too, because that was a different time. At Central.
He's talking about
that was
computers. What's a computer?
But they had punch cards. You put a punch card in a computer back then.
Yep.
All right, moving on to Mr. McGlawn, sir. Same question. What has changed the most in your life during the pandemic, and what do you think the difference is going to be after it's over?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, our business hasn't really changed and how we do business, but what really has changed most is our church going. Because at this point, still today, our pastor have said, not yet, and members support that leadership. Some church groups I know have not been reserved, and I know that there have been some instances where churches started back up and had to shut back down because they had people who came among the group who tested positive. And that whole piece is we've adjusted. We have continued our services online, and we have found that as an effective medium. However, at this point, we haven't afforded the budget to do some of the streaming that some of the other churches have done. But the medium that we have used has been most effective and continues to grow. However, once the pandemic has settled, how are we going to adjust to the new normal, so to speak? And one of the things that I anticipate that we're going to do is that the mediums that we are currently using, just as David talked about, the school system will stay in place. I think that part of what's going to happen to us is, beside the church building being assembly place, that online is going to be an assembly place. We have used the radio as a medium, but that's not interactive. That's just a pre-recorded message being delivered to people. And now that we have begun to use a platform that allows people to interact with the church leaders and whomever is presenting. I think that's something new, and that's something I'm really excited about. I think that's a way for the future.
All right. Well, that sounds very similar. A lot of things are overlapping there, just the technology aspect of things. I mean, when you can normally just meet with each other and, sit right next to the person that you know, um, you're having now to be concerned about how far you are from that person, or families just all the way across the country that you may not be able to get to see for the holidays. My brother just had a child all the way up in New York, and when we get to see them in person, I don't know. New York is one of the worst places, and it's even more difficult for them. I mean, I had to probably allot a whole nother show or two just to hear his stories and his wife,
Yeah.
from the stuff that they've dealt with. Bringing a child into this, was born smack in the middle of it. So it's definitely been a life altering experiences. And I put this on my last show, talking about how, Dad, you told me after the last election, before the year started, you said, I don't know what God is keeping you from, but it's something. You didn't get elected for a reason. He's keeping you. Something is gonna happen. It's gonna hit the fan. I don't know what it is, but it's gonna happen. And sure enough, you got the pandemic is just one thing that they're dealing with. So I don't envy them, and we always pray for our leaders, our government officials.
Yeah.
Because it's not an easy job. It's something not for everybody. And I appreciate anybody that's in those positions. But it's definitely going to be a change. It's going to be different.
Yeah.
Even when it gets better.
Bottle, bring your bottle. In the
Mr.
in the
Steadfast, Big Steady.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You got a few words before I get into the closing. I think we got all our questions answered.
Yeah, I don't have any questions, but I have just maybe about 1 minute.
ID 2.
Okay. Like David has said, when he brought up the point that, come on, man, water, please. Thank you. When he brought up the point that it won't be the same when we go back, when this is over with, because our mind to be conditioned to do this, but the fact that they get a choice to do that, they don't want everybody back in school no more. It's easier. It's harder for the kids, but it's easier for the school. But that's either here or there. I'm just giving my 2 minutes, and
real talk with real men.
Yeah, like Brother Taylor said, I was thinking in the truck today, will we ever go back to church? I really don't see it, because it's like people have been so used to going into church. Now that you got it streaming, it's more people that come on there. The people that wouldn't come to church, they'll watch it. And the crazy thing is, the people that wouldn't come and always had something to say about tithe and offering, they'll give tithe online, but won't come to church and give it. I don't understand. That's just real men.
Everybody sees it.
I don't per se, I get it. But like I was talking to somebody today, I won't, like for the rest of my life, I probably wear a mask in a store, because Corona still will be lingering. It'll just be under control when they get it out the way. It'll be just like the flu then. So I still wear a mask just for my protection, because I got a little one. That's all. You're
gonna be 50 years old in the store wearing a mask. They be like, bro, coronavirus was like 20 years ago.
They do it in Asia all the time.
Hey, and my response will be
better safe than sorry.
Hey, my response will be December 8th. I made a statement that I live to not have corona today. And in 20 years, I'll be like, I still ain't had it. So yeah, that's why.
Still ain't got it. That was what your mask would say. Still negative. Still ain't got it.
Exactly.
But for real, they've been doing that in Japan and South Korea and China for
Yeah,
decades
that's true.
because of all the flu pandemics they get.
Yeah,
You know?
that's right. That's true. That's right. True.
You see you know, a B-roll in of somewhere in Japan, and you know, half the people there will be wearing a mask for, well, what's wrong? Nothing. It's just what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that, like you said, conditioning. It's just
That's it.
different conditioning. Now we're being encultured. Like our thinking is like, okay, well, you know, I got to put my mask on. Said some folks that don't wear a mask, so you put your mask on. You know, hey, let me get. You got your mask. You got your mask. It's just what it is now, and we haven't even been a year with it yet, and it's gonna be a little bit longer before it's over. And we just keep praying on that one. But guys, I appreciate your time. I'm gonna take a few minutes to close. Mr. David Mitchell, Mr. Taylor McGlawn, my co-host Big Steady. My closing remarks, just take a couple of minutes. Leading by example. Leading by example. Today we talked about leading your household in a pandemic. It's not an easy thing to do. As the man in the house, you have to lead by example at all times, even when they're not looking, especially when they're not looking. Because if you step out once doing something you're not supposed to be doing or doing something out of order, then you might do it when they're looking.
Mm-hmm.
Leading by example. I had a conversation with my oldest daughter about voting before it happened, before voting actually went under election. And I asked her today, if you could vote, who would you vote for? And she said Biden. I said, why? She said, I don't know. And I said, your answer, you know, okay, that's not right or wrong, because there is no right or wrong answer, but you have to think about those decisions like that. You're not old enough to, you know, vote, or you're not old enough to understand why. But when you do get ready to vote, you do need to understand who this person you're voting for. When I first started voting, 18, I think my first election, however old I was, uh, Obama 2008, 20 years old, I guess. Um, that election was definitely historic. But I voted for that person because I thought they had the best to offer at the time. And it was history. That was history. So I told her, don't vote for somebody because your friends are doing it, your parents are doing it. Other times where it's like local elections, I would be like, Mom and Dad, who you voting for? But now that I understand the process, I'm more vested in it. I do my homework. And a lot of these folks that voted for somebody like Kanye West, no offense to Kanye West, but he wasted his time on that. To got all the couple of votes that he got. And who the people that voted for him were not educated on this election. You have to educate yourself on stuff that's that important, especially voting. Especially voting. What's that? Say no more.
Their minds is blank. That's all. That's all I was saying. Just a bunch of lines. Nothing else.
Had to be blank.
Point well taken.
Had to be blank. But aside from, you know, voting, elections and all that, but everybody that's, you know, here on this chat and in this group, we lead by example. Everything that we have done, of course, my father, I wouldn't be here right now if I didn't watch his lead, where he had been. And where we are now is not going to be the same place that we are, you know, when we're his age. But we're laying the groundwork for our children. The decisions that you make right now, what you're doing in the light, out the light, the things that your kids are watching you, they're watching closer than you think.
Absolutely.
You got to do what's right, no matter what. Do what's right. Wear your mask. I mean, the kids to see you not wearing your mask, I'm just going to run in here real quick, or, you know, it's not a big deal. you know, what are they gonna think? Oh, well, it's not a big deal. And they catch the virus. You know, what kind of message are we sending to our kids for stuff like that? That's just the virus. When the virus is over, when this pandemic is over, you still have to leave an impression with your kids in your house. Our wives are watching us too. We got to lead by example. That's all I've got. Anybody else? I appreciate you guys joining me, man.
Thank you much.
It's big. It's the first of many. The first of many, man. We'll bring you guys back when we have something to say about IT, because I'm not an IT expert, even though I am with my company.
It was a pleasure to be on. I'd be happy to help you with that stuff. Sure.
I'm sure you will. Mr. Big Steady, got anything else? You ate up your 2 minutes?
Yeah, I think I had like 10 seconds left, but you know, I just hey, to make the show, you know, as the show gets better, we got another brother now, so we're gonna use his brain, because I don't know what I'm doing. We're gonna use his brain to make us even better. That's all I got to say.
All right, I appreciate everybody. I'm gonna end it right here.